Hello and welcome to the Global Dialogue. I'm Shereen Bhan, and joining me today is the man who is spearheading operations for GE Healthcare, the global medtech company globally. Peter Arduini, many thanks for joining us here on the Global Dialogue. Welcome to India. Let me start by talking to you about the big announcement that GE Healthcare has made in association with your joint venture partner. 8,000 crore rupees to be invested in India over the next 5 years. This is in addition to the existing PLI scheme that you've already availed of. And this is both on the manufacturing side as well as on R&D. Break this up for us.
Yeah, great. First, thank you for having me on the show. It's great to be back in India and with our teams. I think as many of your viewers probably know, we've been here in full force for over 35 years. But this investment discussion is about investment in India, and obviously for GE Healthcare and GE Wipro, really a confidence vote about how we see the future of not only India, but the India capabilities for the rest of the world. And as you mentioned, the roughly $1 billion of investment over the next 5 years, to put that in perspective, we invested probably around $4 billion over the last 30. And so not only is it an acceleration, it's a significant step up from where we were before. But it will go into manufacturing capabilities, R&D. I think you're well aware of much of the software work that we've done here, particularly in Bangalore over the years, but how that advances more into artificial intelligence. And what I'm also very excited about is the opportunity for the robustness of the supply chain. Level 2, level 3 suppliers growing, and which will enable us to build a more robust med tech sector here.
Well, lots there that you've packed in, but let me break that up. Let's start with the manufacturing aspiration. You currently operate out of 4 plants here in India. You are part of the government's PLI scheme as well for medical devices. I want to understand from you what that experience has been like, what the start under the PLI scheme has been like for you, and what's the aspiration now, not just for Make in India, but for Make in India for the world?
Yeah, no, look, I think the PLI has greatly enhanced the ability to do business and in many ways put India on a more equal footing with maybe other competitor countries, if you would, meaning opportunities of where a company like us would put their dollars. And so I think this idea of, a better tax structure, a more streamlined approach, better logistics as well, and capabilities in the country, all of those things make it much more likely that a company like us is going to invest. And clearly for our case, we've been a supporter as well as bullish on India for many, many years. So it just made a lot of sense as things have evolved and made it more capable for us to build out a medtech platform for us to come here and build out more. So as you mentioned, we have 4 facilities doing different areas of capabilities, but traditionally, our supply base, many of our components came in from outside of India and then were assembled. And now what we really are focused on is how do we build out more and more of that supply base here, which gives better cost and ultimately better access points and price for the India market itself. But for the rest of the world, it just gives us a more resilient supply chain. This focus on how do you actually have multiple points of local supply, 2 or 3 points in the supply chain.
Talking about supply chain resilience, and you talked about how you want to ensure that you create a component ecosystem here in India so that it does benefit you from a cost perspective as well. What are we talking about? Do you expect that inflection point as far as the component ecosystem is concerned over the next 3 to 5 years? What is the degree of localization that you're currently working with, and what do you hope that number to be over the next 5 years?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I think it's yet to be fully seen. It won't be just obviously how much we as GE Healthcare do, but I think as other companies come, it creates a flywheel effect. But to give you an example, one of the new higher-end exciting products we have in PET-CT, which is a cutting-edge product used in the oncology imaging area, we'll start out in the 40% roughly localized area, but our hope is that we can build out more supply base over time. At the same time, we have a value CT product that is almost 100% localized. So I think, to your point, in the next 3 years for sure, we're going to see significant movement forward, and we would hope within 5 that we'll have, in many cases, redundancies in supply chains versus other markets on a lot of our key products.
So, Peter, you know, all of your plants, the 4 plants that you manufacture out of here in India, are geared to the export markets as well. So if you can break up the revenue mix between servicing India domestic as well as what you're doing currently from India for the export market.
Yeah, I mean, we don't break all of that out right now currently on our reporting, but to give you an idea, at this point in time, you know, the actual amount of product that is focused within India is a higher percentage of our overall sales. That's going to, you know, that will pivot in different product areas over time. It varies by our product mix, but I would say, you know, we have 2 great things happening in India, as you know. One is with the advent of more and more insurance, the growth more of the middle class. We would expect with 1.4 billion people that this market is going to continue to grow probably at a faster clip than a lot of our other markets. And then back to our supply chain discussion, as that develops, then, you know, India supplying more of the world is going to continue to grow. I would say over the long run, my hope is with the growth of the India domestic market and the supply chain capabilities, that it ends up being closer to a 50-50 over time. And we'll see how that plays out. But, you know, for a company like us, it's a great opportunity to have this opportunity with the supply chain and the local market.
You know, since we are talking about the India opportunity, Peter, I want to understand from you, how large do you see the addressable market in India? You talked about the deepening penetration of insurance, etc., but it's still a fairly diverse mix in terms of geographies that have access to good quality private healthcare, that can afford the kind of products that you put out into the market. So what is the size of the addressable market that you see in India potentially? I know it is one of your top 5 large markets at this point in time for GE Healthcare globally, but what do you see this becoming over the next few years?
Well, we would expect, as we've, you know, seen the trends in other markets, whether it be China or other markets around the world as they've evolved, as this becomes a multi-billion-dollar, you know, opportunity over time. And again, when you take a look at the level of the scale of the population, those that have access to care, those that don't, it's not going to be a homogeneous evolution, right? You're still going to have some very high-end capability equipment in certain cities, and then you're going to have a broader swath of lower cost but high-quality tools that are going to go out broadly. Ultrasound is you know, a great example of that. Value CT. These are some of the first things that are needed in a market, is to how do you diagnose or screen a patient early, find disease before it gets too far down the road, and that's the focus that we see. And again, think that we're going to continue to see that uptake here within the country.
You know, Peter, I want to understand from you what's exciting as far as the R&D side is concerned. And you talked about how you've been able to build out the software capabilities at your R&D facility in Bangalore. And, you know, what gives you the confidence? What is going to drive strategy from an R&D perspective? How strategic is India for you? Lay that out for us.
Yeah, no, we are very blessed to have a world-class R&D team here in Bangalore. Again, one of the early components right after we started manufacturing at the Jack Welch Center, which had for all the GE businesses at that point in time software capabilities. It started out with software development that has evolved into SaaS development capabilities, obviously cloud computing, but most relevant today is artificial intelligence. If you look at our capabilities we have in Seattle or in San Francisco, we have as strong capabilities right here in Bangalore. And so with that means, you know, developing products that will be used throughout the world as well in India. And I think, you know, the interesting enablement of what that will do, whether making healthcare more accessible, an ultrasound product because it's AI guided to be able to use by a novice user, or in the case of other technologies such as MRI, the ability to take a product and be able to have it do 50% more patients in high volume areas because of the changes. There's just a lot of things that are happening within that space. And this team here in Bangalore is going to continue to be a really important aspect of it. In fact, it will be, an area that we will continue to invest in to grow for these capabilities, but in that case already for the world.
Since we're talking about investing in capabilities in Bengaluru, what is it going to mean in terms of headcount addition over the next 5 years as part of this 8,000 crore rupee plan that you've laid out, Peter? And also, just to pick up on the point about artificial intelligence, and generative AI is got all CEOs excited today. But what does it mean from your product portfolio perspective? And more importantly, what does it also mean from a perspective of remote healthcare, providing services remotely to consumers? What's the experience been like in India through the use of your products, and what do you see that leading to over the next few years?
Yeah, I think so to your question on, growth of folks, as we expand, obviously, manufacturing, that's going to have one of the largest increases in adding people and jobs within India. From an R&D standpoint, we'll be continuing to add. This will be probably one of our faster growth areas within any of our sites around the world, and also just the mix of the folks that we have. We have over 800 software kind of folks, developers today. I think roughly close to 2,000 overall employees here in the Bangalore area, and so that will continue to grow on both of those aspects. But to your point on Gen AI, we are deep into it today. I mean, just to give you an example, around the world, in different approved bodies, whether they be FDA or other types of government agencies around the world that approve healthcare products, we're a leader of any company. We've got over 60-some products that are used today that actually help predict, manage, or work through different types of disease states. But the interesting part about it is, I just give you an example in our monitoring business, is the ability for a monitoring system that may be attached to a patient, that if they're not in the critical care area managed by a nurse, that actually an AI algorithm can actually predict with high confidence when that patient may have an issue, so that you can actually dispatch a nurse to them, or maybe a remote worker to oversee them. And in the near future, to be able to drive more remote care, someone being taken care at their home. I'd mention again the use of ultrasound, CT, MR, all of our products, how they make an image and how they work, the setup, has all been greatly transformed by AI. In many cases, you can run a CT scanner as simple as about 4 clicks today. And we actually have a visualization system that helps set the patient up on the table that used to be a very scientific, multi-step process. The AI actually does that for you. Down the road, what's even more exciting is this ability to take multimodal data, so all that imaging data, genomics data, pathology data, and actually have Gen AI be able to look at that set of data and help a clinician say what you may want to consider this patient as either step A or step B next. And that's not that far off. That's in the next 7 to 10 years. But that's really what we're going for, is to be a leader in multimodal integration with AI to help drive diagnosis.
Well, we are going to head into a break, but when we return, we continue our conversation with the President and CEO of GE Healthcare right after this.